We are approximately 69 days away from the Great American Race. The odds have been released, but what is worth your money? We take a way too early look at the 2025 Daytona 500 odds and give you our best bets. All this and more tonight on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two fucking states.
What's going on, folks? Thanks for taking a ride down the back road with us tonight. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock, and we are taking a look at the Daytona 500. I know it's only December the 12th as we sit here and stream this out to you. Still about 2 months away from the Great American Race going green, but we've got odds out there, and it's never too early to start thinking about Daytona, Seth.
Absolutely buzzing tonight, Elliot. It felt like Christmas came early. It felt great to be back in the saddle of handicapping an actual race. And not just any race, Elliot, as you allude to, the fucking Super Bowl of stock car racing. And who will etch their name in history this year? I can't wait to find out. I also can't wait to break it down tonight with you and share my best bet. I already got some coin down, so hopefully the IBT family is ready to tail, and I know you would do as well.
Yep, laid down a few extra bets today along with the ones I had before. We will give you a breakdown of the Daytona 500 relatively similarly to if the race was on Sunday. We'll give you our horizon forecast and our parking garage props, taking a look at the early odds that are available. Of course, they don't have a full outlook there yet. I still didn't even see top fives or top tens anywhere, but we do have outrights and a few other fun markets we can take a look at. Before we get to that, though, we want to remind you again about our off-season / postseason survey that we've got going. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, and what you're looking for the future of the Backroad Show. The link is in our description. This is the last week to do it. Next week, we're going to be drawing from our giveaway and giving out the junk box over here, Mystery 124th, along with 164th diecast and some trinkets and all this great stuff that we want to show to you guys as our appreciation. But we need your help, too, to figure out how to make this show the best we can for you when we really get to 2025.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone who's been hanging out with us throughout the 2024 calendar year. It's been a very profitable year for us, a lot of learning, a lot of gathering of information, formulating new opinions, how to attack the NASCAR betting markets. But thankful for everyone, and that survey is really going to help us continue to do that. We have some really big stuff in the works already. There hasn't been much of an off season over here, but we're fueling up for next season. Looks like we got Marcus hanging out with us as well, asking what everyone's pick is for the 2025 Daytona 500. Listen, man, the outright market's tough right now. I will say there's some value. We will share that. And I will say, Elliot, the odds for who I actually think could be a sneaky pick aren't even at most books right now. So something to think about there. Marcus is always going with Chris Bell to win the 500. So yeah, like that call as well. What do you say? What do you say though, Elliot? Should we go ahead and jump in here?
I see Marcus throwing out the old Chili Bowl shout out too, one of my favorite off-season events. Christopher Bell going to go dominate on the dirt there. So this horizon forecast, much less a weekly weather report, much more like a farmer's almanac style from how far out we are. But let's give you our horizon forecast for Daytona.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Just a little breakdown of the World Center Racing track, and then I'll walk everybody through the weekend schedule on the Cup side.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at the track itself, Daytona International Motor Speedway, I'm excited to jump into it. It's a 2.5 mile large super speedway. It is best comparison is Talladega, Elliot, but it is wider than Daytona quite a bit. So I think when you're looking at it, you can also look at Atlanta, which actually races more like Daytona does. It's a bit narrower. The draft is a bit more similar there, I would say, as well. So yeah, you can look at both Talladega, you can look at Atlanta. The 500 though is almost like a one-off event, and I feel like the track and strategy races a lot differently in February than it might say at the end or towards the end of the season when people are more thinking about playoffs and cut lines and points. At the beginning, everyone just wants to win this son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, it certainly was a lot different when you had when you came back to Daytona in July. Now you go at the very end of the regular season. So that, and plus at the beginning of a year too, was the other thought I was trying to piece back together there. At the beginning of the year, a lot of people with new teams, you got new crew members, everything like that. There's a lot that still needs to gel with these guys, not to mention just the fact that you want to win the Great American Race, probably more than anything else on the calendar.
Oh, I mean, this is the granddaddy of them all, right? Like, this is it. If you win this race and you're even just a middling cup guy, you can hang around in the Cup Series for 10, 15, 20 years. Think about how much that raises your autograph stock for when you go to do some, after NASCAR life things. And hey, you can sign, Daytona 500 winner. Look at Trevor Bayne, dude. Like, that guy, I mean, he's kind of transitioned nicely out of the sport now, but that guy just kept getting rides, and I'm sure every time he goes to an autograph event, Daytona 500 winner, Trevor Bayne, baby.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the 500 too, regardless of if you're a guy like Trevor Bayne, who that's his career highlight, or even if you're a guy like Kurt Busch, Cup champion, won a bunch of races. I bet if you ask him, hey, what's your favorite race win? He's probably throwing out that 2017 Daytona 500 in that 41. Yeah. So looking ahead to the weekend, this is actually new news. It just was released today. What the weekend schedule is going to be when we get to Daytona in February. The week starts Wednesday the 12th. The opening Cup practice will be from 10:05 to 10:55 a.m. and that'll be followed by the pole qualifying at 8:15, which will set the front row for the 500 as well as the starting lineups for the duels. Thursday, you'll have those dual races, 60 laps, 150 miles. They're going to start at 7 p.m. with duel 1 and then approximately 8:45 p.m. For duel 2. We'll have a second practice on Friday the 14th. You can celebrate your Valentine's Day by watching the second Cup practice, 5:35 to 6:25 p.m. Then we'll get final practice on Saturday the 15th, 3:05 to 3:55, a trio, a fairly extensive practice session, which is nice to see, all leading up to Sunday, February the 16th, the 67th Daytona 500, 200 laps, 500 miles, scheduled to start at 2:30 p.m. Your stage lengths, 65 laps apiece for stage 1 and 2, and then 70 laps to take it all at the end.
Man, this thing starts at 2:30, but it goes and it goes and it goes. It is a long afternoon, so buckle in.
More often than not, we got a little bit of weather that affects it too.
Yeah. I mean, you and I can remember, especially in our youth growing up and staying up all nighter as long as we could to try to watch the end. The Juan Pablo one as well.
Yeah,
I think
I was just about to bring up that not only do you have the weather to deal with, but you also have the track literally catching on fire and robbing Dave Blaney from a Daytona 500 win.
Shout out Dave. But Speed Week's really a great thing, dude. And like, this is just a tradition in our sport. I wish it would go back to Speed Weeks and we could have a whole week prior. That would be an absolute blast. However, though, like, I even, starting to kind of think ahead a little bit, you can really get invested with those dual races, and there is a little coin to be made there if you play it right. I know a lot of people in the community as a whole were on Tyler Reddick in the one duel last year. We were so close to hitting in the duel and hitting an outright there. But Elliot, I think we will probably need maybe even a pre-duel show, so potentially maybe 2 Backroad shows that week.
Yeah, not a terrible idea because there is lots of money to be made there, and even for the guys, there may be more open cars than we've ever seen before. So the duels and the pole qualifying will especially be important to watch this year.
Oh, yeah, with 2311 and what's happening with front row, too, it's going to be very dicey. I'm interested to see. I mean, maybe we get a resolution like that before there. Maybe we do see a lot more chartered cars than we're thinking, but there's a chance that it's like you said, and, it's an all-out war, and, Jimmy Johnson's and BJ McLeod are, outdoling someone for a spot in the 500.
Yeah, it might be a little more high stakes than just, is Jimmy Johnson going to be able to beat the 44 of Yaley, which he just barely was able to this past year to make it in.
I'll tell you what, man, that was a great race. And then also old BJ McLeod in the other duel trying to put it together. And I remember no one wanted to lead that race. And BJ was like, hey, someone's got to do it. I'll lead this race.
Yeah, same as Spring Talladega. He was the feel-good story, and then they shuffled him out. He hit the wall, and he was done for.
Come on, BJ. We're rooting for you, buddy. We're rooting for
Hey,
you.
so somebody interviewed him. I didn't read the full interview, but he says he's probably happier now after selling the charter, running part-time, than he was owning the charter full-time. So good
I
for
mean,
him.
yeah, he cashed out 40 million. Like he sold the stock when it was high, and
Yeah.
yeah, he probably has a nice little, maybe a little upgrade to the home, and probably can do a lot more other things in life that now that he's not running full time and running last. So I will need to check that out. You'll have to link me to that after the show. Always enjoy keeping up with McLeod and what is Team Live Fast as well. Looking at some Daytona International Speedway trends here, Elliot. Alex Bowman, your guy, he leads all actives in 500 poles, and also 5 of the 9 active pole winners are current or former Hendrick Motorsport drivers. I just kind of found that interesting. Chase has 2 poles. Jimmy Johnson, while at HMS, also had 2 poles. Larson, Byron, they each had 1 apiece as well. So HMS, I think if we're betting early in the week, if we're trying to get invested even pre-duels, Elliot, like HMS, their team you got to be looking at, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that was definitely a big thing for about 10 years there. We even saw Dale Jr. get on the front row a couple times there. Hendrick Motorsports was going to dominate Daytona qualifying. We saw even with Bowman in his full-time career was on the front row every single year until last year. And kind of segueing to your next trend here, what we've been able to see the Fords do, especially front row motorsports, is going to be super important to watch to see if they bring back the speed that they had on the super speedway tracks, which was just ridiculous last season.
I mean, people were cashing crazy tickets on McDowell, on Todd Gilliland in qualifying last year. These guys just unloaded fast. And yeah, at the 500 specifically, Ford swept the front row last season. Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, I don't know if you can, like, there's a little bit of an asterisk next to Joey's poll there. I think we can say that there was the glove gate that came out.
That's right.
I think a week later. So,
Mhm.
but regardless, Ford unloaded fast last year, specifically front row motorsports. And wouldn't that be a big FU to NASCAR to just come out and sweep the front row or do something crazy like that from our guys over our FRM this year, Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, clearly they found something because McDowell was on the front row at Daytona, and then I believe it was McDowell that won the pole for every other super speedway race the rest of the way. So they had some speed over there. That might translate some to McDowell, probably will translate to those FRM guys. So watch out for Gilliland, watch out for Noah Gregson, and if Zane Smith is in that third car, if they end up running that third car, watch out for those guys. They'll be ones to watch for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of polls, I did want to talk about that. And Dale Jarrett actually is the most recent poll winner to win the 500. That was all the way back in 2000, 24 years ago. So if you are betting any outrights pre-flop and your guy ends up hitting and and ends up getting the poll, like you got to cash that out, right? Like you got to take whatever little profit you can, get back invested if you really believe in that driver. But I mean, we saw it last year, man. Like I was on Joey Logano pre-flop, pre-duels, pre-qualifying. Like that was my guy last year. All the numbers for Logano just absolutely screamed to us. And you can go out there, you can dominate the race, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way in the end.
Yeah, and it's really twofold. This was especially true back in the day when the cars were harder to drive and you could kind of mess with them a little more than with the single supplier next gen, is that sometimes your car just raced a lot differently. You could either set it up for qualifying or for the race.
True.
If you set it up to run fast in qualifying, boy, was that going to need some adjustments in the middle of the race, and finding your way back up to the front was never easy. And also the dual races are big time practice for everybody who doesn't win that pole. If you win the pole and you're on the front row and you're locked into that starting spot, you don't want to be too racy, because if you end up having to go to a backup car, you got to start all the way in the back. So usually in the dual races, guys who are on the front row, they'll run 5-10 laps up there in the front and they'll get the hell out of Dodge. And so you can't learn nearly as much about how your car is going to race on Sunday if you don't have those 150 miles to practice it on Thursday.
Yeah, and speaking of people who've had a lot of practice in the Daytona 500, and we're going back to old speed weeks, right? And how the speed weeks you would get a ton of practice. And Jimmy Johnson was someone who could really take advantage of that. So is Denny Hamlin. And it feels like we don't get a lot of guys who are winning multiple 500s in their career anymore. Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Jam will actually be the only 2 actives with more than one 500 win. You got a lot of guys like Ricky, like Cindric, like Dylan. Logano's in that mix as well, who have won. They've gotten close to second, but Also, 9 drivers' first career wins have come at the 500. Elliot, we talked about Trevor Bayne earlier in the episode. We just spoke about Austin Cindric. He's the last one to do it in 2022, and Michael McDowell, our guy McNasty, in 2021 as well. So you can't roll out a first career winner here at Daytona. We just saw it in the fall as well with HB, old Harrison Burton.
Yeah, and that really gives you optimism for some of these rookies that are coming up, or even a guy like Ty Gibbs, who is starting to reach that threshold of, oh, he's had enough starts. He probably should be winning one of these things. Not that he's particularly a strong plate racer, but just some of those names to look at. You never have to be afraid to pick a guy who hasn't won before, or even a few of these old vets that have never won a Daytona 500. They're trying hard as hell every year to get there.
Last trend I wanted to talk about here was last season's race specifically. The top 10 included 4 Chevys, 4 Toyotas, 2 Fords, although Ford did control much of the race. So I was looking back through trends from previous years as well, Elliot, and there isn't one. I'm going to be honest with you. This was when I was trying to see, does a manufacturer specifically in the next gen era have an advantage at Daytona? Does it have an advantage at super speedways? Does it have an advantage in the 500? The answer is no. The answer is no. We've seen all of these manufacturers find different ways to get crafty. And then also you can burn yourself at the same time, because if you're all running together, you get 8 Fords taken out, you get 4 Toyotas. So no trend is the trend when looking at manufacturers here. Although Chevy and Toyota were the strongest technically at the end of the day last year.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Usually you try to work together with manufacturers, but especially late in the race when you get them all kind of intermingled, your friends are where you find them, and you're right. So one guy slips a little bit, you end up in a 20-car pile up. Oh, shit, 15 of those guys were the Fords. Not much you can really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you have to talk about Daytona, betting strategy, anything? Because I would like to lay out there, we're going to be breaking down the odds tonight, but I think from a general rule, Daytona should be one of the races that you go the lowest of the units on every single year. There will be some creative markets we can talk more about in the impressions of the books, but I think just from a general philosophy, we have to remember to we got to keep it tight. And I think, we can't be out there just throwing willy-nilly units here before the season even starts.
Yeah, and I don't blame people for getting excited about the Daytona 500 and throwing some more coin down, because I'm people. I do that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But really, 2024 was kind of weird because you had 2 playoff races at super speedways. So they're much more easily handicappable. Even Atlanta at the beginning, we had some surprises with the playoff guys, but we knew it was going to be the playoff guys that were running up front. This year, Talladega in the round of 8, when we get toward the very end of 2025, long way from now, that'll be about the only one you can probably reliably handicap, because you're in that far deep. The guys are going to be trying to win to make it to the championship 4. But other than that, the super speedways really are the Wild West, and you can make a lot of money, but also you can lose a lot of money if you try to bet a lot of money.
Yeah, got to keep it close to the vest. You got to keep your head on a swivel, and let's go ahead and break it down. What do you say?
Let's go ahead and get it parked in the parking garage props. Well, Seth, I don't know what you really thought about the offerings we got. Honestly, I'm just happy that we have offerings, and things being more juiced than usual is no surprise, because we're going to have more people wanting to bet on stuff, and because we have 0 on-track statistics to back up anything.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. It was great to see offerings out there, especially 2 months away from the event. I know a lot of times it was almost like right around Christmas we would get them. So, and we've had them out for a couple weeks now as well. Caesars actually has a spread of markets, which was nice. I know for a long time as well, it's just okay, you're getting outrights, and we can bet outrights. We do have, some different unique offerings we can bet, mostly at Caesars. Pretty much everyone else just has outrights. FanDuel has nothing, of course, as of now, but almost everyone else does have their outrights out for this race. And overall, I do like what we're seeing. I'm really we need notifications for Bet Rivers, because they're usually the people who put out to lead a lap markets. I think that is one of the best markets I like to get invested at the 500 with. Also top 20s. Top 20s, one of my other favorite markets to bet on as super speedways. Haven't seen any of those yet. And matchups. No matchups as we speak as well, Elliot. So those are kind of the 3 markets I'm waiting for to largely get invested. And like you said, outrights, a bit juiced, at least at the top.
Yeah, the top 20s in the matchups especially are some of the ways you can make the most money. But like you said, the outright's fairly juiced, but We do have them out there. Most of what we're pulling from is from Caesars, as well as these outrights here on the board that we got popping up here. Your favorite for the 500 is Kyle Busch. He is at 10-1. Down the board a little bit, we have Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney all at 12-1. Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott 14-1 and 16-1. Seth, in terms of the favorites, anybody really stand out to you here?
No, I mean, the 10-1 for Kyle Busch. I did see a 12 out there somewhere for him, but that's still just ignorant. Like, come on. Kyle Busch was a weapon last year on super speedways, and had a chance to win in Atlanta earlier in the season. Also was one of those guys who just kept fighting back in the 500 last year, would go a lap down, get his lap back, make his way through the field. Almost won at Daytona later in the season. Harrison Burton ends up getting that win. But so I get it. I get it, but 10-1, such a steep price. Like, I'm not paying any of these. Ryan Blaney, not bad, but I think the best price I like, 20-1 and under is probably Willie B, right? Like, number one in the Daytona NASCAR next gen speed rankings, courtesy of our friends over at ifantasyrace.com. William Byron, defending champion. I don't expect him to win again, but I mean, damn it. Like, just if there's a price that's not bad, 16-1 for him, it feels okay.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. We'll get to that second row in a second, but in terms of the guys in this first row here, I haven't laid any coin on them, and I don't really have on-track stats to back them up, but I feel like both Kyle Busch and Keselowski, they're guys, longtime veterans who have never won the 500, and we know they want to get it. For Kyle Busch, there's been a lot of comparisons with him and Dale Earnhardt. This is 20 years of trying and 20 years of frustration. Is this year for Kyle Busch, his 20th Daytona 500.
And wouldn't that be a great story? Wouldn't that be a great, doesn't win it all last season, comes oh so close, comes back, wins the 500 right off the rip. Oh, talk about a momentum builder for RCR there.
If we were under the Daytona 500 rules that Dale Earnhardt won his in 1998, Kyle Busch would have won the 2023 Daytona 500 because there was that caution at the 500-mile mark. The 8 car was in the lead. Last 3 races here, 7th, 12th, and 2nd. He's got 5 career runners-up at Daytona, but no wins here since the summer of 2008. In terms of Keselowski, he doesn't have quite nearly as good stats, and it's not his 20th year. Obviously really good at Talladega. Daytona, maybe not so much. He's only won once here, too, summer of 2016, 2nd and 8 in the last 2 summer races. And that's just one of those, RFK looking to continue to take the next step. Could it be the 6's year to take home the 500? I'm not sure. Into the second row there, like you mentioned, Byron Larson and Chris Buescher are all at 16-1. Austin Cindric, who won it in 22, is at 18-1. Then you have Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell, and bumping to the next row, Tyler Reddick, all at 20-1, which is the number where you were starting to feel confident in, guys. Seth.
Yeah, 20-1 for like a C Bell doesn't feel crazy. You know what I mean? That feels solid. Real quick, I keep jumping all over the place, so I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
okay. That's why they're all on the board. You can see. You can reference every number that we got up there, which, of course, is not every number on the books. We did the top 24 odds for the race.
I'm just spitballing here. Like, I know no sportsbooks really give a fuck what a couple degenerates from Pennsylvania think, but my thought process is, like, can I get a bet for the driver to lead the most laps in the 500? I would bet Joey Logano. He's done it twice in a row, 45 laps in the 500 last year. Also led the most laps in the fall race as well, 34. So like I think that would be something interesting, right? Like, but like 12-1 short. So and I feel the same about all these 20s and the 16. Like Cindric, his metrics really do pop out, specifically when you look at the super speedways last season. He was a weapon here at Daytona. Ranks really, really well in the speed rankings. Also very good in average position. He was 12.3 average position in the 500. And also looking at the average position that Daytona fall race, he dominated that race, dude. Like he was 7.4 average finishing position or average running position for our guy Austin Cindric there. So Cindric at 16-1, it's short, but like it's justifiable, right?
Yeah, I would agree, especially with the hot streak that he was on in the playoffs. Really dominant at Atlanta and running up front of Talladega as well on the super speedways when he was still alive in the playoffs. My favorite number probably in the second row is Bubba Wallace. I feel like he's a guy that may try to take the reins, have a fast car, and maybe a guy to go out there and lead the most laps. It's really uncharted territory, no pun intended, for 23XI. They're always motivated to shut up the haters too. For Bubba, 2024 was the best in terms of top 5s and top 10s for his career. And of course, his new crew chief was with the 19 of Christian Eckes trucks. He was top 10 in all but one race last year. Obviously, big difference there. But Daytona, arguably one of Bubba's best tracks. And like I said, 23XI, definitely a team that will that they'll want to come out really swinging to start 25, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, honestly, that's not bad. Eighth in the next gen Total Speed rankings for Daytona. He's really high up in average running position as well for a lot of these Daytona races. 14.1 in the 500 last year, which is right around the top 7 or 8. 10.9 again in the fall. So he's there, man. Bubba's running up front. It's just, can he close, right? It feels like whenever he has a chance to close in a big moment, there's a little bit of choking that happens, and can he overcome that? I think I want to see him overcome that. We all want to see him overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I betting on it at 20-1? I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely understandable. If that
Top
number
10,
goes a little bit,
top 10, good top, like maybe some plus money top 10. You could convince me. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I don't know that he'll be plus money top 10, but we'll have to see. The rest of the guys in this 20 to 30-1 bracket, before we jump some of the more longer shots, I already talked about Reddick at 20-1, Michael McDowell in the 71 this year, as well as Chase Briscoe in the 19, both at 25-1. And it looks like Ross Chastain also at 25-1. And Alex Bowman is over at 28-1. McNasty and Spire, they're going to be a weapon this year. That whole team is going to be a weapon. The speed, like I said, probably more an FRM thing in terms of the pole qualifying speed. But we know that McDowell is good on the super speedways. Led multiple laps, 3 of the last 5 Daytona races, as well as, I believe, 20-plus laps in each of the last 2 at Atlanta and each of the last 3 at Talladega. Again, maybe some of it's Ford speed, maybe some of it's not, but we've seen McDowell get out there and run up front. And a guy like Bowman, I'm not going to go on a big Bowman rant because we've seen enough of those, but 3 of the super speedway races, he crashed out last year, was involved in some sort of incident, and he was top 5 in the other 3.
Oh,
so
okay.
Flipping a coin. P2, if they just hold pushing the caution button for a quarter second, he wins there. Ran up front, ran 3rd all day at Fall Atlanta, and then one of the Dega races, I think he was top. He was 5th in the spring. Everyone wrecked. McDowell and Keselowski had that wreck in front of him.
McDowell's another guy, even Inspire equipment, that we know we're going to see at the front of this race, right? It's just whether he cannot be squirrely and keep it together, because he finished 36 in this race last year, and looking back at that fall race as well, he was good. He was good, man. He 8.8 average running position that day. That's the 5th best on the day. And it just felt like whether there was there or Talladega, I believe, earlier in the season between him and Brad, like he's always just throwing the blocks and like, which is awesome. But if you have any other investments, whether that's DFS on Michael McDowell or whether that's a top 10 or, you name it, a matchup, it's just like if you're betting Michael McDowell, it's outright, right? It's like all or nothing.
Yeah, it certainly is, because we saw him crash out at the front at a few of those super speedway races, like you alluded to.
I did see him. I think somewhere too when I was browsing the different sports books around like a 30 to 35, a couple places. So I know we have Caesar's odds, I believe, pulled up here, but I know he is a little bit longer out there, which if I could get a 45-1 or something, like it just feels like a lot for a first race and with Spire.
Yeah, I feel like 45-1 would be pretty strong. 35-1, I'd take him, especially looking at the rest of this board here. Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, Todd Gilliland, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., all at 30-1. I don't know what the fuck Ty Dillon's doing at 35-1. He's there. Riley Herbst in the 35 was also at plus 3,500. Daniel Suarez is there also. And at 40-1, we have Ryan Preece in the 60. Other than Stenhouse, I don't see a lot of upside here. I mean, I mentioned Ty Gibbs beforehand, but that would be more a good equipment car kind of lucking into a win rather than any sort of prowess we've seen from him and these other guys. It's just as much of a toss-up. Ty Dillon's not winning the fucking Daytona 500, but the rest of these guys might at least have a fighting chance back here.
Yeah, Riley Herbst, he's someone that a lot of books actually haven't listed him. I think just because, recently announced and they don't give a shit about NASCAR as usual. But
I'll be honest, I only didn't put him on the board because I couldn't find a nice looking number 35 like the rest of these guys, but he was definitely worth a mention. So I'm glad that he was the guy that you were wanting to pick up on.
Well, yeah, and like I saw him at 50-1 at ESPN Bet, still a little short. Like if I could get a 75-1 or better on Herbst, I think I would take a nibble. 3 Daytona starts.
That would be long as shit for a 2311 car. But again, continue. The play tracks can give you those kind of odds sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still a rookie full-time driver, but he does have 3 Daytona starts in the next gen era and Cup equipment, one top 10, finished in 2 of those races. They were both in RWR equipment, Rickware Racing. And I think like the thing, in addition to him already having the top 10 and finishing in 2 of the 3 Daytona starts, Elliot, it's like Yoders usually have pretty good strategy, right? Like I know sometimes they'll go off on their own, and like I can't remember if that was Atlanta or what race that was last year when they all wrecked each other.
Talladega, because that's where Jones had
Yeah,
to miss
okay.
a couple races.
Okay, yeah.
That's the tough part about Toyota. The Chevys are 20 deep. The Fords are 18 Fords. You got like 9 Toyotas out there, if that.
Yeah, but I kind of like that in a way, because like it kind of puts you like, if the Toyotas have the best strategy, you kind of have a 1 in 9 shot, right? Like, and probably like, throw Jimmy Johnson. I don't know if he's going to be riding with that lead pack, and who knows what JHN or Jones Boy are going to be doing. But like, I think the strategy could even be better, because Chris Gabehart's going to have more of like a larger competition director role. So I think maybe that goes in the favor of all the Toyotas. So if you see a 75-1 for Riley Herbst out there or something, if you get like a crazy number on Eric Jones, I don't think they're the worst plays. Like what I mean, again, I'm talking like 100-1 or better for Jones, but I think there's some value in the Toyota market is what I'm trying to say here. I think more than anything, Elliot.
Yeah, I can't disagree, but again, it's a lot tougher because there's strength in numbers at the super speedways, and it's just something Toyota really doesn't have. But if they hit, you're right. They're probably going to come out ahead, going to come out in really, really good shape if it works.
Yeah, and I saw here, and we have him on the thumbnail as well, so I would like to bring up Todd Gilliland now in that 34 car. I saw him at 50-1 at ESPN Bet as well. I believe you have a 40 or a 45-1 ticket on him. So Todd Gilliland, another guy, great average running position in the races last year at Daytona, right around 11 for the second race this season, and 17 for the 500 as well, but actually should have been better. And when you look at the average speed rankings for My Fantasy Race over the next gen era, Todd Gilliland sitting down there in 4th, Elliot. So is that really like kind of what made you lean towards that number 34 car here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Todd Gilliland, as well as the rest of front row, the speed was undeniable on the super speedways. And a guy that I have listed here as an outright to think about that's not on this board is they have Noah Gragson at 50-1. If you didn't see, it was accidentally leaked. He'll be in the 4 car next year for sure. Rush Truck Centers. So someone's buddy put up the paint scheme on Reddit or something, and hopefully that guy doesn't lose his job. But Gragson in the 4 next year. If the speed at the super speedway is a front row thing, I think Gragson could pull the son of a bitch. I really do. He was 9th last year in the 500 with Stuart Haas. 2 other super speedway top 5s for him, including one in your favorite car, the number 62 Beard car, back a couple of years ago at one of the super speedway races.
I think the only thing with like betting and Gilly, like at 50-1, that's tempting, right? Like I think that's actually a solid number. 35 here at Caesars or 30 at Caesars, a little short for me. But I think the one thing we have to factor in, Elliot, which is just the inherent risk that if something doesn't change with the lawsuit in the next couple months, there is a shot that these guys aren't even in this race. Like if something crazy happens in the duels, you never know, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the charters active, that's the risk you take. It's almost an equal coin flip of, is Gilliland or Gragson or Zane going to pull the race? Or are they going to start that you can put up the 5th best lap time, crash out in the duels, and you're fucked. We've seen that happen.
And I guess we have to think about that with 23-11 too. You know, like now when we're thinking like now 20-1 with Bubba doesn't feel as good now that I think about that a little bit more.
Well, the nice point is there are a few that their owner points or their time does lock them in, not the owner points anymore, I don't believe.
Okay.
That could probably also be a saving grace for front row. But if we see all these guys bring absolute heaters out there, sometimes it's your time will lock you in if you don't race in. So the front row guys or the 23 guys could be safe on that. But still, if you see all of them qualify up front, then 1 or 2 of them could still be at risk.
Any other outrights you wanted to talk about, Elliot, before we move more into the placement props or anything like that?
So I almost wonder if Caesars swapped Ty Dillon and Austin Dillon, because Austin Dillon's at 45-1. And I feel like that's a disrespectful number for a guy who's won twice at Daytona, was a winner last year, former Daytona 500 winner. I don't know what the fuck you have Ty Dillon ahead of Austin Dillon for with that. I know last year wasn't the best year for him, but that seems like, at least comparatively, it's not the number 45-1. It's more so the fact that he was 27th or 28th on the odds board here and not even willing to make it up. I already talked about Gragson and another guy, Carson Hocevar, I feel like is a guy at 60-1. Just aspire weaponry and a kid who's hungry. There's deeper value there. He crashed out, I think, on lap 2 or something last year. A big NASCAR tradition guy. He wants to finish well in the Daytona 500. And it's not that everyone else doesn't, but I'm just very high on Spire, as I've said, all fall long, and we'll continue to say all winter long, and then we'll continue to ride all spring long and see how the results end up in the first 5, 6, 7 races.
Yeah, I was kicking the tires earlier. I saw Carson Hocevar upwards of 75 to 1 at some books. Actually, the lowest, I think ESPN Bet is where he's the lowest on their odds, which I found interesting. Like most books right now, SVG actually has the longest odds, which I can kind of understand from the non-open cars that we currently have locked into this race. So I understand that. And yeah, that is crazy about the Dillons. I didn't catch that. So that is very interesting. I would say
that was consistent across multiple books too. That wasn't just a Caesars thing. They had Ty Dillon ranked way higher than they should have for everything in every book. I just don't understand it at all. A top 30 points finish would blow my mind for this 10 car next year. Would blow my mind.
If the books are valuing Ty Dillon in this 10 car somewhat, keep your head on a swivel as we get closer to Daytona. We get some matchups out there. If there's an opportunity to fade this number 10 car, even at a super speedway where luck can kind of pay off at times, I think you have to. And same with his brother, but opposite end. Like if there are some decent numbers hanging out there eventually, maybe for like a top 20 for Austin Dillon, maybe that's where you get invested. Like this is a good super speedway driver. He's won this race before. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, we're always like hashtag fade Ty Dillon over here, right?
Yeah, and that will continue throughout all of 2025. Absolutely.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get some matchups so we can just fade the fuck. It's not going to be often, but we'll get them.
This will be an experiment, and I'm going to, whether I actually throw coin on all of them or not, but next year, every Ty Dillon bet, we will go the opposite end, and we will see how much money it could have made. We'll see what the odds were.
Yeah.
Remind me of that, chat or you or somebody. That's our 2025 project. There'll be a little 2-minute thing every week. How much money could Ty Dillon have made us this week by sucking complete ass?
I think 20 seconds. We ain't giving Ty Dillon. That's too much publicity for this dog. We're part of the problem then at that point, Elliot.
Yeah, good point. Enough about that. So, like I said, there weren't a lot of placement props out there, but I do have a couple numbers, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, I honestly nothing specifically for the placement props that I'm down on. I would again keep an eye out for top 20. That's where I really like to bet, especially like when you can get like a David Reagan in this race or something like that. Someone with some real long odds. So aside from that, I might be looking at like a top 10 or maybe a real top 20 juice number for William Byron, but nothing as of now in those markets for me.
Yeah, in terms of the hypotheticals, once we get those top 10s or top 20s out there, the books have really undervalued Cole Custer, as we've talked about in that 41. Yes. I think he's a guy that'll have some good numbers, top 20. In SVG, his odds might get a little shorter once you get to top 10s, top 20s, but led laps in both Talladega races last year. And if there's a place where he's not going to embarrass himself, it's probably the super speedways. So outside of the road courses, he's obviously not going to embarrass himself there. Placement prop wise, they only had top 3s on Caesars. Keselowski at plus 350 was the one that I was kind of looking at. I didn't throw any coin on it, but they do have some duos and some trios for the top 10 out there. The 71 of McDowell and the 23 of Bubba Wallace. I threw a little bit on this, both to finish in the top 10 at plus 225. Just a way to get a little bit of coin on some guys that I mentioned earlier as potential outrights. Obviously the numbers are a little juiced, but little sprinkles that I won from the last couple F1 races, hitting some bets there. You know me, I can't bet much legally. I always have to denounce college football bets and shit. So all my money I made on F1 at the end of the year, I'm just going to throw it on the Daytona 500 because
you're probably itching this time of year, bro.
I'd have to do some digging to figure it out.
You're out here betting Chili Bowl and shit. I'm sure.
If there were Chili Bowl odds, I'd be all over. Chili Bowl.
I'm sure there's some.
Get me on a Chili Bowl show. Let's go down to Tulsa and do some get some content.
I'm sure there's somewhere. I'll look them up for you. I'll find you some. Don't you worry, my friend.
Golden Driller book. Let's get on
it. What else for placing props? Anything else you were seeing that was catching your eye?
Manufacturer-wise was something else that I saw. Toyota longest odds at plus 260. And you know me, the longest odds when it's that much of a difference. Chevy's at plus 140. Ford at plus 165. I don't know if I threw coin on it or not. I might have thrown a sprinkle on it. I don't remember. You know how it is. Some stuff I do talk about, some stuff I throw some coin on it. I'll have to go back and look and figure that out. But Toyota, like you said, if the strategy hits, it'll hit pretty well. And you have some super competitive cars there. At least 7 Toyotas that could reasonably win the race, and the other 2 or 3 that certainly have a possibility.
Sure. Sure, yeah, and that's like one too that you can kind of hedge your bet a little bit if you're trying to get invested there. Take the best number, look around different books once everything gets released, but a plus 265 now for Toyota might not be something bad to sit on. You can probably still hedge yourself then later, whether that's betting other outrights from other manufacturers that you think can win, or also just taking one of these other outrights. Like I think that's something we need to kind of be a little more just on the lookout for this year, Elliot. It's kind of like arbitrage betting ourselves a little bit and just like making sure that there might be an opportunity you can kind of bet two manufacturers, and as long as the one doesn't, come out the winner, you're making money.
Yeah, that's honestly a good hedge too. One other thing I forgot in my notes about a guy like SVG or even a Chastain or a Suarez. The one that, SVG spent a year over at Colleague. Last year was not a great year for Colleague across the board, other than SVG's couple of wins and AJ's win at Vegas. Cup Series didn't have much to do. Maybe the Trackhouse boys try to take a page out of the old Colleague book. What did Colleague always used to do at Super Speedways? They were sticking together. They were a team the whole time. They all were on the same strategy, all drafted with each other. More often than not, they were at the front. But more often than not, it got guys like Justin Haley or Ross Chastain race wins. I almost wonder maybe that's Trackhouse's theory to come out on top. It wasn't a great year for Trackhouse last year either. Maybe they decide to pull the Colleague trophy hunting strategy in the 500. Everybody fucking sticks together. SVG is the caboose of the train. Chastain's the leader. Suarez in the middle. Maybe that could be a winning strategy for the 500 because it's something we haven't been able to see Colleague do at the Cup level and something they also haven't done at Xfinity, losing some of their top drivers and not really having the plate prowess that they did when they had Haley or Chastain or guys like that in the program.
It's an interesting theory, right? And now that they get 3 full-time cars in the mix, I am excited to see what they can do at different styles of track. Is there something specific in the placement props that you like for Trackhouse, or is it just shooting like a dart on the longest SVG outright you can find? Like
not even the outright
trying to get here.
That's something I'm waiting until things get more expanded and we get closer to February to really lay some coin on them. But just something that's to chat about, just a complete tinfoil hat theory. But Trackhouse sure wants to win the Daytona 500. It doesn't matter which of those three gets the victory lane, probably for everyone other than those teams.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else you're looking for the placement props odds?
No, I'm good to move forward.
Yeah, pretty much right now. Like we really do just have we don't even have like straight top 10s. We have some like top 10 parlay options available. Caesars, top
like I mentioned, a couple duos and couple like trios, both are all to finish top 10.
A lot of the bullshit trio top 10s and duos that we I personally try to stay away from, like the manufactured ones. So yeah, not a lot there. I'll be excited to see, maybe we can revisit it when we do get some top 10s and top 20s as well out there. But
we'll also run this all back the week of the 500 too. We'll have the full expanded odds, and we'll have seen the practices, probably done pole qualifying, maybe the duels still to come, maybe not. I know in previous years we had tried to do this race live during the duels. I'd have it up on like a hotel room TV, and we'd be like, "Oh, look at this guy's at Austin Hill. Bet's not going to pan out. He's not going to make the race."
We'll definitely work around that a little bit better. We've been getting better over the years.
Last year we did too. There were a couple of years that not only there was that, but I was caught having to do the show on hotel Wi-Fi or on my cell phone a couple of times. So.
Hey, we made it through though. We made it through. We pray for times like this. Matchups and groups. So no matchups right now. There are some groups out there I did see on Caesars. Elliot, you're a group guy. You know me, like one of my golden rules. Don't bet groups, bet matchups. But do you have anything for us to chew on right now?
Yeah, I figured I pulled out a few different groups here. The one, I don't think I laid any coin on it because I'm not throwing all my money at Bowman, but they had a group D on Caesars that was all the Hendrick guys. 24, 9, and 5 are all at plus 200. Bowman's a plus 220. They all have pretty equal stats on super speedways. Obviously some of them have won there, some of them haven't, but that's just general 48 disrespect, which we're used to around here. But then they had 3 other groups of all mid-pack guys where they were all plus 250. So it was just a pick 'em. Groups F, G, and H. Group F, Martin Truex Jr. in whatever car he ends up in. It's not going to be 2311. He said at the award show, JGR's doing it somehow. I have no idea how he's getting in the race, but I'm sure they're going to field the car for him. So he's matched up against Josh Berry, who'll be in the 21 that just won in August at Daytona, Suarez, and Ty Dillon. I don't know if you have a favorite in that group. I feel like Truex or Berry are certainly the guys I would want to look at.
The fact that Ty Dillon's in this group is funny, but
I don't know if they meant Austin Dillon and they put the wrong Dillon or what happened, but it just doesn't make any sense. You could fade him, and here's one of your fade Todd Gilliland bets that'll make you money.
Yeah, like I don't mind. Like this is another one. If you want to take two out of them and make some money either way, I don't mind. What the two that you announced there, that's fine. But I don't like groups to begin with, and like let alone on a super speedway. It just like I just can't.
I understand. We're still going to go through these because it's
That's fine. That's fine. That's
because
fine.
it's content. Group G: Justin Haley in the 7, AJ Allmendinger in the 16, back full time. Priest in the 60, Herbst in the 35. If Herbst makes the race, I feel like it's Herbst. Otherwise, I might lean Haley or Allmendinger here.
Yeah, Allmendinger actually has some pretty good stats here. We know Haley got OW as well. This is like a surprisingly sneaky group. Like, I wish we could bet something. Again, I'm just like trying to act like I own a sports book or something. But I'd love to be like, well, two of these guys, any two of them, be in the top 10 because I actually think two of those guys could finish top 10.
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, with those particular guys, those are some of your mid to late pack favorites to finish and run up front, honestly.
Yeah, those are your teenage dirt bags right there that can get it done. It might not be the prettiest. You might be sweating it out throughout the race, but hey, they're going to pull out a top 10 for you. At least one or two of those guys for sure.
No doubt about it. That's another one I'll mark down here, and we'll save it for the 500, see which one of them gets it done. Before your grand finale bet here, Group H, Corey LaJoie, supposed to be in the 51, hasn't been announced yet. Eric Jones in the 43, of course. Custer in the 41. Noah Gragson in the 4. I'm leaning LaJoie or Gragson here. We've seen LaJoie pull off top 10s in the 500 multiple times.
Eric Jones, second in the Daytona NASCAR Next Gen Total Speed rankings for my fantasy race. Even last year, he was a top 10 guy. Eric Jones in one of the worst years for his entire career. It's hard to fade him. But I do. Like who was the fourth guy in that group?
It was LaJoie, Jones, Custer, and Gragson.
Again, can I just fade LaJoie? Can I find a matchup with LaJoie? Like I think that's what we're doing at this point.
Like, if it wasn't Daytona, like Daytona and Atlanta are the two where he actually pulls something out of his ass. So
yeah, you can make an argument for 3 of the 4, and I mean even Corey LaJoie, dude, he even had a top 10, I think, in the 500 last year too.
Yeah, I think he's been top 10 in the 500 more than once, honestly. Yeah. Definitely top 10s on super speedways more often. Than that.
Yeah, I think his first top 10 at a non-super speedway came last season, so that's kind of his MO. Yeah. So yeah, it just makes it tough for those groups. It's fun to do some rapid fire, and I think it might be a fun way that your friends can pick your fantasy football draft order for next year, or something like that. But yeah, it's hard for me to want to totally get invested in a lot of groups, but like there'll be some out there. Like I remember hitting a Daniel Suarez last year at Atlanta, like a 350 to 1, or plus 350 group, which was nice. And it had one on Cindric, I remember in the 500 as well. So there'll be some numbers out there for sure.
Yeah, and that's something that we might try to play with for the Daytona shows that week, is just have somebody who knows, somebody or group of people who just know nothing about NASCAR. Have them pick a couple of bets and see how those do against ours that we've studied here and are practicing for, looking at the odds 2 months.
69 days away. Yeah, 69 days away, baby. Nice.
All right, Seth. So you got a special in here. That's this is your way to try to make money on the 500 and sweat it out for a little bit with some of the college football bowl season.
Yeah. So I've been looking. I wanted to come. I didn't want to force a bet. Like I honestly was thinking I wasn't going to have a bet that I was going to be down on. Didn't like a lot of what we were seeing in the outrights. Don't really have the full picture of what we're going to get from a placement prop perspective as well. So I was struggling. I've been struggling. And then finally, I roll across this beauty of a bet, and it is winning car number over 12.5 at minus 170 from Caesars. Look, when you're looking at a bet for the 500, I'm looking for something that can make me money. And this bet, without counting the open cars, the Austin Hills, the JJ Yaleys, the BJ McLeods, the Truex, without counting the non-full-time guys, the Jimmies, this gives you 25 cars versus 12 cars. So I think at this point, you got a pretty good leg up. You could get even more in this race as well. You're going to have like maximum, you're going to have 12 guys under this number of 12, right, Elliot, for a car number here. And I know it does take away guys who could win this race, like Ross, who was dicing it up. Chase Elliott's always at least a fan favorite. You got Denny Hamlin. Blaney's kind of the one that scares me, I'd say. Brad.
Really, it's only 11 because you have Ty Dillon in the 10, and we know he's not going to win. So
Yeah, true.
we
Very,
have
very.
Austin Dillon. You never know with him. Technically, Gregson is the 4, hasn't been announced yet, even though that's confirmed. So
Yeah, and it
even
still
better.
gives you guys like Logano, Bowman, Stenhouse, Reddick, Gilliland, McDowell, Byron, Bubba, Christopher Bell, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe. So it gives you a lot, and like you're just basically taking a 2-to-1 bet here. You know what I mean? Like you
Yep.
get 24 to 28 cars versus 12 here. And how I'm playing, like minus 170, that's hard to bet, right? Especially 69 days away from the race.
Yeah.
So how I'm going to play this, we're going back to the big chill college football money line parlay here. We're going winning card number over 12.5 minus 170. We're also going to look at the Florida Gators money line minus 550 over Tulane in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. The Gators, they got this kid named DJ Lagway, fucking dog. And they'll have most of their key contributors on offense because, as you guys know, betting bowl games is pretty tough because you get a lot of opt-outs, you get a lot of transfer portals, get people who are going to the draft. Hey, no thanks, I'll see you later. Appreciate the ride. Thanks for the, all the NIL money, and I'll take my check and go. But
So long. Thanks for all the fish, right?
yeah. Gators are good though. Like Gators got most of their dogs, especially on the offensive side. Tulane, they just got blown up by Army in the AAC championship game last weekend, 35-14, and they'll be without their starting quarterback, Darian Mensah, who is in the portal. So I think Florida's going to wipe the floor with them. They're about 14-point favorites over at Caesars. You can get them minus 550. So you combine that Florida Gators money line with the winning card number over 12.5 in the 500 is giving us total odds of minus 114. The odds will be in my favor, Elliot, for this to hit in the 500 if Florida wins this, which I'm confident that they do. And then at that point, like I can hedge with the Ryan Blaney. I can hedge with someone down in that mix. Like if I want to bet a Chase Elliott or a Ross Chastain, something like that. So having a minus 114 on something that could happen 2 out of 3 times feels pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it too. You can take a pretty steep glass of juice along with the Tropicana orange juice that flew on the Chicago track 20 years ago, and you can make that a pretty nice glass of juice there at minus 114. Like you said, just playing the numbers, 12 cars against what could be 25 to 28 cars depending on opens and things like that. Another numbers announced, and that's completely taken out the 10 car because he's not going to win the Daytona 500. So just playing the numbers here, like you said, it's a 2-to-1, and the opportunity to hedge yourself when the end of February comes. Definitely a bet that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think it's honestly the best number on the board if you want to get invested with something now. Minus 170, winning card number. Again, we're parlaying out the Florida Gators money line in that Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, getting us down to minus 114. We'll ride that out for the next 2 months. And then that gives me a basis, right? That gives me something I feel confident in going into the 500. I kind of build my card around it. So really excited to kind of find that little treat here in the odds. Appreciate Caesars and all the sports books for at least putting something out this week, Ellie. It was really, really fun to kind of break this down with you and the IBT family as well. I hope everyone enjoys this content we put out today. It was fun to get back in the handicapping motion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We've already talked about some other bets that are out there too. We're still waiting on Xfinity and truck bets to come out, but we've also had 2025 Cup Series Championship odds. We did that show a couple weeks ago, and there'll be an accompanying article coming out soon on the website as well. I don't know what the hell a Gasparilla is either, but I'm sure that's off.
I like the name. I like the sound of it, right? I like the sound. Gasparilla.
It's like sarsaparilla, the fancy root beer you can drink.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's do the sarsaparilla bowl instead. How's that sound?
That sounds pretty good to me. Just a reminder to everyone as well, if you're here live in YouTube and you want to get invested in our next giveaway, we got a shit ton of 164th diecast we're giving away. Also a mystery 124th diecast. We got Chase Briscoe koozie and some other goodies we're going to throw in there as well for you. Please fill out that survey in our link. Let us know what type of content do you like? What type of content do you not like? We're thinking about doing some different NASCAR shows, some different shows in general here at IBT. We want to get our NASCAR family's opinion there. So please pull up that survey. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new. Like this video if you enjoyed this type of content. Weigh in. Let us know below. Like who are your guys' favorite 500 bets? Looking at the odds right now, I'm ready to go. 69 days. It's too long, Ellie. I guess we'll have the Clash before that, right?
Clash will be before that, and we'll have some other fun shows throughout the weeks as well, including drawing that giveaway next week. And then it was also another thing on that survey is how do you like doing the giveaways? What's the best method? Because we've stocked up on more, and we're going to be giving away some autograph stuff throughout 2025.
I want to, I'll shout out just a couple of the big winners from Black Friday here. We got a Ross Chastain signed mini helmet. That might be one of my favorite. We also got a McNasty signed die cast as well. And Elliot, you got a
little combo with the T-shirt for the McDowell there. A couple other autographed items there as well, and obviously stocking up throughout the year. We care about the IBT family, and we're grateful you care about the show for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a blast. Elliot, can't wait to do this again with you soon, man.
No doubt about it. Holidays are getting closer, and so is the Daytona 500. Never too early to start making those bets. Thanks for rolling down the back road with us. We'll see you again next time.